Welcome, everybody. This is the Type Thursday Book Club. I'm so excited to have you join us today. It's going to be 3 designers reviewing one book under 5 criteria under a blind review rating system. We do not know what either any of us rated the book. We're going to find out together live with you tonight. So you're joined by 3 professional designers. I am Thomas Jockin, the founder of Type Thursday, a professional typeface designer, also assistant professor at Mount St. Mary's University in Maryland, America, United States. I'm also joined by the Type Thursday chapter leads of Phoenix and Los Angeles. Michael, give us a little introduction about yourself.
Sure, thank you. My name is Michael Mondragon, the chapter lead of Type Thursday Phoenix. I'm a branding designer, a graphic design educator, and an Adobe community expert. Super excited about today's book because of my branding background. So love it. Glad to be here.
And Matheo, you can jump in too.
Hey everybody, my name is Matheo Cadena. I'm a creative director and graphic designer with 7+ years of experience, worked in UX, UI, entertainment, fashion, tech startup space, and I've run the Type Thursday LA chapter as the lead right now. So check us out for one of our events.
Very good. So this week we are reviewing Logos That Last from Allan Peters. We're going to do a little quick summary of the book, and then we'll go over what are the 5 criteria we use to rate this book. I would say from my point of view, looking at my notes, that very much the emphasis of clarity of geometry and the things that of timeless logos from discipline, not trends, I think is very clear from how Allan approached the book. It's incredibly polished. I think I can say that without a doubt. But I do think that that polish hides underneath kind of the deeper argument hidden inside the text, my personal opinion and my assessment. Michael, where's your general overview of the book first before we get into it?
Well, I'm a bit biased because I love branding so much. It's my passion. And Allan is a designer that I would love to work with and for. His branding is absolutely incredible, and it's really relevant. And I just love just even seeing that this book exists. I wish that it existed back when I was starting, because it would have been a great starting point. But again, I have some from our rubric. I definitely have some opinions about it, so I'm definitely excited to share those.
And Matheo.
So I'm super excited because this was the book that I basically pitched. We all said yes, and here we are. We've got it done and read. Definitely very visually inspired. Allan did a great job putting together lots of fun visuals in here. So I'm excited to get into our criteria and talk about all the different insights that we had.
That's right. While we're loading up our Fig Jam we use for the rating system, I'm going to go over what are our rubrics, what are our criteria we're going to use in discussion of the book. Each person reviewed the book blindly in terms of these criteria: clarity of concepts, visual inspiration, practical application, typographic insight, and overall impact. What will happen is each one of us will slide in our token representative of ourselves onto the Figboard page for each category, and then give reasoning why we made that rating. After each person places their tokens down, as you'll see shortly, we will then have a short discussion about our ratings. Do we agree? Do we disagree? Will there be contention? We're going to find out right now. Michael, get us on to the Fig Jam, and I will volunteer to go first to lay down my rating. So as I jump through my screens, yay. Okay, I'm at that Fig Jam, and so the first one is clarity of concepts. So how clear were the ideas expressed in the book? I'm looking at my rating, because again, I did this last week. I would say in general, this is I'm giving this a 3. And my reasoning is the sequence is very clear. The arguments are really quite simple, but sometimes detrimentally so, kind of harming it. At times, the distinctions seem like between some concepts like simplicity, function, and timelessness blur, which does happen sometimes. It does, but that will cause confusion for some people to see the nuances of when those concepts overlap and when they have distinctions. The book is generally very clear, but not deeply interrogative. Allan does gesture towards ideas like universality of beauty, but it does not fully unpack the contradictions that come from his argument or reasoning. So that's my take. Michael, you can jump in.
Sure. Well, I gave this a solid 4. It's very straightforward. It's, talking about process, refinement, decision making. It's digestible, but not theory heavy. And it's, I think it's easy to follow. And if I were to be a seasoned designer like myself, or just wanting to get into this, I think that it's a very easy read, and also one that you'll definitely want to pick up if you're doing this type of work.
And Matheo.
So well said, Michael. I really love that you said it's digestible but not theory heavy. But in clarity of concepts, unfortunately, I'm landing myself at a solid 1, guys. I really was so excited for this book, but so disappointed by the fact that I didn't get more depth from Allan on a ton of these concepts he presented. So I was just like waiting for more. And in the whole time, the whole book, he says, I'm going to show you my process. I'm going to give you the exact insights into my logo design step by step. And then I'm like, yay. And then I go to the next page and it's not there. And I'm just like, damn it. Like, where are the sketches? Where's the process? So that's why I landed myself here.
Now that's fun. This is why I like this stuff. Okay. That's really so. And it's funny because, some of my notes about it being overly simple were related to that point. So, and that's the issue, is that design books have a really hard thing to do, which is they have discernment's the main thing that we need to be learning in design. But how do you do that? It actually is very repetitive and incredibly laborious to actually go through systematically the distinctions and thinking of your design process and what you're making. And obviously that was not, most people don't want to show that. So as a result, he gestures to these ideas. And there's some of them, I think, especially his Gestalt stuff is really good. Like his understanding of Gestalt is very clear. But I'm sympathetic to that, because you basically get a bunch of spreads of like sketches. And the most, I think the thing is you're getting is like, just do 50 sketches. But I think that's actually very important. I actually deal with my students on this. Is like, there is a difference of like how much variation you do in a sketch. A slight little variation is not a new idea, or it's not a new sketch, for example. And that's the kind of things you learn from discernment over time. So while I'm surprised by this rating, I'm surprised how aggressive you are about it. That did dampen my rating on that similar points, but not to that same magnitude.
Yeah, no. Great points, Thomas. I think because the promise in the whole opening chapters of the book is that I'm gonna walk you through my logo design process step by step. I'm working on some logo designs right now, and I was looking for more clarity. And for me, it felt like a picture book. It felt like a very beautiful, lovely, picture book. But I was missing the clarity of concepts. Here's do this first, then that, then this, and here's my process of how I landed here. It just more is, doing the math, doing the problem, but not showing your work and how you got there. And it's like, yeah, so here's what I ended up with. And the final answers that he has, they look beautiful as far as logos. But I just was sad that I wasn't able to follow along with the work.
Michael, any thoughts?
Yeah, and I think maybe because of my background, if somebody were to be starting at this point, maybe, like Matteo, they would be getting that from this. And I don't think this book was meant to be an instructional manual about how to do branding. I think it's introducing the concepts, also kind of focusing on some little things that you can put within your branding that are, good things to have. And if you look at this book as a whole, you might look at some of these logos and think that are marks that they're simplistic. And I think that's kind of the point. Like, how do you make something simplistic, but what's the work that goes into that? And maybe that's what you were looking for in this book, is maybe more of that process. But whereas I feel like it's more like a body of work and then touching on how they came to be.
Very interesting. Okay. I think we're ready to move on to the next criteria. Okay, so visual inspiration, the strength and originality of the visual material. So this is the eye candy. This is the like, did we get a wow, pow, thank you, ma'am. This blew my eyes out kind of event. And you know what? I've been apparently from the last rating, I was like the hard ass of the group. But with that said, I think it's a solid 4. The visuals are strong and disciplined. It's compositionally restrained. It's well sequenced. It's a convincing, logical ordering of the compositions. Use of scale and color, I think, is done very well. The examples demonstrate formal intelligence and taste in composition and position. Allan's work operates safe. With that said, it does operate safely within a brand identity conventions, which is really helpful for students wanting to understand what a professional mark design or logo design looks like in the 2010s. So if you want to know kind of the straight up answer is for my introduction students who want to know what is good mark making, I would use this book. This book is a reasonable, good starting point, I would say, at least in terms of giving them something that it feels actually surprisingly approachable, right? Those are my notes. Matheo, you can go next.
Yeah, let me jump in here. I think you said it right. It's very surprisingly approachable, and so I'm going to stack myself. I rated a solid 4 right here. So, and it's because it's visually inspiring. Allan did a wonderful job, throwing out beautiful design ideas, concepts, logos, and there is no shortage of amazing, beautiful marks and logos that he's made and presented in this book. So it definitely feels like almost like a lifetime portfolio showcase of his work, which was super exciting to see and very visually inspiring. It got me thinking about badge making, and I wasn't thinking of that before. So, the visual inspiration, spot on.
And Michael.
So I'm going to go a little higher here. It's going to be hard to get a 5 from me, but I'm going to go 4.5, maybe even 4 3/4. The reason why is when I've been doing my branding, I go through books. Before there was Pinterest, before there was the phone or the internet, I would literally go through books. And I would have loved to have this book to not only inspire me, but also give me ideas about how to use negative space, about how to possibly use shapes to kind of imply that are different things are in there, little Easter eggs within, creating 3 things that are about a mark that really connect with the brand or the people that they're trying to communicate to. I would have loved this book. And I think that that's one of the strengths that I'm reading it in a kind of a different way and then finding out the backstory of it. So I'm going to rate it high. So again, I'm probably pretty slanted because I do this kind of work. But that's where when I opened it up, I even remembered some of the marks that I saw that I didn't even know he did. And I was like, oh, wow. I remember there's specifically, there's a Minnesota North Stars redesign that was never used. And it's such an effective use of stars. I love stars. People hate stars. And so I love this in a different way.
To jump in. So by the way, everybody, we have a Slack for Type Thursday, and in the book club channel of it, me and Matheo both posted up our favorite designs from the book. That star design, I think I know exactly what you're talking about, Michael. I love that one. That's the kind of thing I show my design students of, like, when I show Ace Gestalt principles of positive figure ground space. It really was fantastic, especially relative to the original it came from. So I very much agree with that sentiment you had.
Yeah, Michael, I love that you do so much brand work and you have a ton of like your own mental library plus physical library that you lean on. Like you said, there was an era where we didn't have access to the internet and you had to do it that way. I think now, and Allan Peters makes this point in his book, a lot of designers are in their design dungeon, is my coined term, but we're stuck looking at our computers and devices. We don't actually go and get inspiration from the physical world anymore. So a case that he made was go get visual inspiration from the wild, from the real world. And his way was, going through these boutique shops in small towns and looking at what they have in thrift stores and looking at old, sort of like items that were designed in different eras. And that's where he starts to see a lot of sort of like cool design solutions that gets him thinking in different ways. So I love that part and that piece that he encouraged us to do that. Yeah.
Very good. All right, onward. Let's move on to the next segment. Practical application. How useful would this text be in teaching or professional practice? So here's the thing. While, yes, there are solid examples demonstrating geometry and local construction, I think this book that's its main emphasis. And those lessons are going to be very useful for foundation design education. I used them, actually. It was because it worked out. I was giving the lecture to my students on this, and it was there. So I used it. It was very appropriate. But for any context, I think outside that introduction level of discussion, the applications do remain really traditional, very foundational traditional applications for the most part. It's very strong for onboarding students, but it's not the kind of book. It's the kind of book you really read once and you're getting introduced, and then you might pull back up for reference later. But most likely, will just go into the database of your memory. And for those reasons, I'm putting it as a 2 practicality for those reasons. Michael, you can go next.
Sure. Again, I'm probably going to be biased on this one. I'm going to actually put it at a 4 because it emphasizes repetition, refinement, and also discipline of actually, there's times when you're designing something and you think that you've explored every possibility of what it could be. And sometimes, and this goes to Type Thursday, is putting it in front of other people and having them look at it and saying, oh, what if you did this little tweak? What if you did this? So I think that it definitely inspires that in me. I read that. Again, I may be biased on this, but I feel that it's there, and I feel it shows in the work as well.
Matheo?
Yeah, you guys are not going to like me. I got to be honest. Unfortunately, I had to rate this one a solid 1 again.
Solid hater.
Solid,
this one.
Solid upset. When I first picked up this book in the store, Barnes & Noble, I was so excited looking at the cover, looking at the inside spread, read the back, flipped through a couple pages, and I was like, this looks awesome. I'm going to get so much practical tips out of this. And again, he opens his first chapter with, I'm going to show you a step-by-step guide of how I do what I do. And every page, I'm highlighting, taking notes. And the notes I'm taking, and on the side of the margins, I'm saying, yes, this is cool, but where are the sketches? Where's the process? So I can see how you got to this final solution. And there's a couple sketches that he shows throughout the book, but they're so very far and few between, and they don't show you how he landed on that final end result. And as much as he advocates for, getting away from the digital screens and working in the physical realm, I want to see that in his workflow too. So for me, practical application, like the usefulness of this and be able to put this into practice or teach somebody else or mentor someone with this, I feel like, no, I can't. Like I can say, yes, look at it for visual inspiration, lots of lovely, visually juicy, punchy, and memorable brand marks, but you're not going to learn how to make them just looking at that. There's some like extra steps in there that I feel like weren't shared with us, even though that was a promise. So
I think in general, Matheo, your main problem was the setup. You were given promises in the introduction, and you got burned because you feel like the setup of the introduction did not get fulfilled in the execution.
Felt like a bait and switch. It's like, I'm going to show you exactly how I create this, and I'm going to show you part by part and piece by piece, and then we open it up and it's like, okay, we see the finished thing. We hear about how you did go through a process, but we don't see the process of you making it, putting it together. Yeah.
I mean, I do agree. I mean, the thing when I share this with my students, I couldn't just give them the book for my students. I had to give them context. It was useful because then I articulated, well, look what Allan's doing. And I would walk through what his process was and how that applies to Gestalt theory and what approaches he was thinking about when he worked on this. So I don't disagree with you that in and of itself, the book itself will have limitation because it's incomplete. You need supplemental discussion to actually really understand what it's doing. Michael, because that's the point, Mike. You're the outlier in the group. Basically, you're pushing harder on the core side. So, what are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, I totally get it, and I think it's also what I'm hearing is a lot of what I hear today, like online. Why a lot of designers are actually popular now because they're showing their work. I think that he's touching on it, and maybe you wanted him to go further and actually show how you make these things and maybe a more practical application of some of these things. And I do understand what you're saying though. And I probably feel that too when I'm teaching. I'm like, am I saying enough or am I not saying enough, or am I just blazing over things, or maybe I went too fast on that? So again, maybe there's that insecurity, you're trying to fill like everybody that reads it, they're going to have something different to take away from it. So, so maybe you're just wanting that show the work aspect of it, which is very, very, very understandable.
Fun discussion. All right, let's move on down. We're Type Thursday, the medium place for people who love type. So obviously we had to put a criteria called typographic insight. Basically, what's the depth of typographic thinking in the application in the text? And while there is discussion of Gestalt and formal principles of design and composition, those are within the domain of mark making, of marks. And that's rather than the broader domain of type and typography. There are similarities, but they're not the same. There are distinctions that are important. In general, one is not turning to Allan's work for insight of a type designer or deeper typographic inquiry. You're not coming to this book for that. So for those reasons, this is getting plopped out in the one. There's one section on typography, especially it's rather lackluster in my opinion. But to be fair, because that's not what Allan is. It's not a type designer. I'm not going to hold that against him in terms of what he's strong at is mark making. He's fantastic at it. That's what he does really well. Typography is a different piece completely, though. Matheo.
Yes, sir. Let me jump in there. So same exact thoughts. Allan, I'm landing this at a solid 1. When I was looking through this, I was a little sad that there wasn't more typographic insight, because he's got such good visual inspiration and wonderful section on badge making, and that I felt like he gave us more insights into that process and like how he came up with some of these awesome badge concepts, and tons of references, and talk about geometric form and how he would balance out the badges piece by piece. And like that's where I felt like he took us through. But as far as the typographic side, it was more so mentioned in passing. So anytime he's talking about, a kerning or custom type, he'd throw it in there, but he wouldn't tell us the approach or the process or the ideation behind it. So it's like, yeah, I did it. It's my portfolio. But yeah, there was no real depth of talking about typographic concepts and how you could push them and combine them or lean into that as a piece of logo making. So yeah, for this one, unfortunately, that's where I landed.
And Michael.
So this is where I actually give it, I'll give it a medium mark. I'll give it a 3. And I could have gone lower, but the thing that I did notice about this is that it wasn't typographic heavy, and it does lack in that realm, especially under this criterion. But I even mentioned it with the stars and the N. Like, that's brilliant, the way that he put that together. And I think that also shows a lot of typographic insight and knowledge, and also a lot of skill. So where it doesn't have the insight, I took away from it the way that I can use letters and negative spaces and shapes in my work. So that's where I fell in the middle. Like I said, I could have given it a lower score, but I saw the inspiration in it because of the work I do.
Yeah. When I made my comment about the stall principles being really strong in his work, this is what I mean. Like as individual letters, as a mark object, yes. I won't deny he's very good at that. But the minute you go anything beyond a single letter mark, no, he doesn't. It falls apart because it's generally it's the same. It's typecasting. Literally, it's like the same What are you going to get from him? Geometric sans. You're getting geometric sans all day. Monolinear geometric sans made at Illustrator. Sorry, that's just how it goes with him. And other designers of a similar ilk. That's what they do. And that's fine. It's a good shtick. But the thing is because the modernists, I'm going to talk a little bit about this in the next section. The modernism that's being referenced, Paul Rand's, Saul Bass, they had full command of typography across the board. They weren't typecasted into this very super rational, like geometric sans rationalism. That I think in some ways limits the vocabulary of what they could design. But as individual mark making capacity, like that, again, that N star, outstanding. I don't disagree with that. That in terms of that understanding, it's very good. It's just that it goes beyond individual marks. I think that's where the insight does fall apart, in my opinion. But thoughts, Matteo?
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Throughout the whole book, I started to recognize Allan's style, and by the end of it, I feel you have this intimate understanding of his modernistic geometric form, but everything is very like sans serif and very clean and very simple and very the same after a while. Like even some of the I'm bird bias. I love a bird logo, and he have showed a few of his iterations of like using that bird iconography, and those just start to feel very the same over time. But they look beautiful. They still all look beautiful. So I definitely agree there. But on typographic depth, just still, yeah, it wasn't there. There was no real giving me more information that I didn't already know, and then explaining even his approach to typography just wasn't truly there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Michael, any last thoughts?
Yeah, the references that he used in the books that of stuff that inspired him are the same ones that I have all around me. So the simplistic, timeless looks. Like, how do you get that? And how do you? But I could connect those dots. That's where I feel like maybe for both of you, he didn't connect the dots. So again, I was reading a different book in a sense, just from what I was looking for in the book.
I mean, Matteo did make a comment that the badge section be really strong, in terms of that actually was the case with him putting some serious work into the non-geometrical approach, I would say, if I had to put any strong language about it. So that is true. I think that's actually fair. As a counterpoint, I think that is quite fair to say, Michael. Okay.
Yeah, I would say he had a good visual inspiration, but again, it just wasn't typographically rich.
Okay. So last one, overall impact. So here's my overall conclusion is, listen, Allan's work is professionally competent. I don't think anyone can put that away from him. But it's not going to be groundbreaking or a new articulation of graphic design practice, because overall impact is about, is this the kind of book the industry and the community is going to look at in 30 years and go, man, whole trajectory of practice got changed because this book came to exist. That's not what this book is. It is a portfolio book. And
yeah, I
think that's actually very important because in the introduction, he cites the Paul Rand Reader by Stephen Heller as an inspiration for Peters. I think that's really important, is that's the context that was set up to us from the beginning, implying that this book, we have a similar cultural professional role. But here's the thing, Rand was responding to the open possibilities of mid-century modernism, and his work evolved over time. And he wrote about that development of work over time in a very influential manner, both in his own writings, but also in testimonies of other people as well. So and I think in general, I will comment a little more in the closing statement, but the vitality of proclamation found in Rand's work and writing is not present here, at least not explicitly. I think Allan does have incredible vitality. I think there's many things. I think there's some great kernels that behind the polish that I wish was actually emphasized more. That this book could have been a much more overall higher impact and actually had a lot more pedagogical value. What I'm getting at here is his emphasis of courage. He has his emphasis of courage and having a commitment to not being afraid. That great design never comes out of being afraid. I think that's 100% true. And to find out, it's hidden inside the text. But he has a biography where he almost died.
Yeah.
And he saw violence in a very explicit way in his life, in multiple, apparently two different occasions, that really had a huge impact on this orientation in life. I wish I had more of that. So for those reasons, I think, again, this is what I say this out of love and the wish that and also his faith, by the way. I think it's important for people to know that different kinds of people can be designers, and having faith is not something outside that. I think it's important to show people that possibility does exist as well. So in combination of, I think, a lot of impact he could have had as just in terms of the idea that people can go, wow, this is the kind of designer who does this kind of work and lives a certain kind of way. And I want to be this kind of person. I think that's a really important role of education, to give people role models and context of not just how to make great work, but how to be certain kinds of people. And those relationships are not separate. They're combined very deeply. I believe that. So for those reasons, it's getting a 1 because I think I've lost potential.
Mm-hmm.
Michael.
Yeah, well, again, I love that I have this on my shelf as a branding designer, as someone who does this type of work all day, every day. And I'm going to give it a 4. And, you know, your points are valid, Thomas, 100%. And also, Matteo, I can understand where you're coming from on this one. I guess maybe I wasn't looking as deep into it as trying to get more out of it, because I was super inspired by what I was seeing. And I think that that's also something too. If I had written this book, would I be proud of the work that's in it? Yes, 100%. And it's what I aspire to do if I were to ever do a book. My body of work, I feel like, is bigger than me. So that's why I loved it. I loved it. And so, like, I'm definitely giving it a 4 out of 5.
I love that, Michael.
And Matteo.
Yeah, you guys both made some really amazing points. And, you know, as I was looking at the overall impact that this book had on me, at the end, Allan really starts to make me feel like warm and cozy. And I feel like so good. But unfortunately, when I think about the lasting relevance in the industry, I landed right at a solid 2. And that's because this book is a portfolio book. You know, it's not a design industry groundbreaking. We can look at this and we can follow the research and follow the references and follow the how-tos and design process and learn from his process and understand design from a new perspective. It's here, you know design, and if you know design, you can have this book as visual inspiration. And you know, his points at the end about I highlighted that same quote, Thomas, of like, don't fear, right? Because like at the end of the day, designers, if we just fear, then everyone's fearing. The designer's fearing what the client thinks, the client's fearing what the customers are going to think of the logo, and then we're never getting through and doing good design work. And so in him being vulnerable at the end and sharing his personal story and almost losing his life, I've almost lost my life several times throughout my life. So when I read that, I had to read it again. And it really resonated with me when he said he feels like, you know, God gave him a path and he's still here. And now he realizes life is short and he wants to do good work in his life. And him doing some of the free work for the churches and low cost work on low budgets just to help people and do these, you know, branding so people can come together in these community spaces and find hope. That moved me on a deep level. And that had a lasting impact and impression. I felt like that was all crammed in at the end, though. So it was like if there was more of that tied in throughout the whole book, and more of this like deep thinking and deep process sharing, then I would feel like, okay, now this would have given this book a lasting impression on the design industry as a whole. But unfortunately, yeah, I landed here And I know he said, Alan, you wrote in your book you want to write another book. I was like, maybe this is hopefully it. Take what we're talking about here, and hopefully we see more of that. Even though I think he said the next book he wants to write is on badge making, which is great. I think that'd be great. Just give us more how to and show us the process, and then I would love it. But yeah, great. Just overall good feels from this book, but a lot of room for improvement.
I think it's just fun and interesting how Michael interpreted the book, right? Versus myself and you, Matteo. I think it really is quite interesting. I think in general, yeah, I mean, again, it's really great. If you're talking about this as a touchstone of great work made at a certain time, yeah, the book's great. I have no issues about
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
I think, but the fact that there are these kernels, I think of a deeper reality. And I think I just know professionally and working with students, teaching them to have conviction and courage that what they do does matter. And like, you need to come in, like, you're not going to do, if you care about doing good work, you cannot be coming from fear. I think that's a really important orientation to live your life by. Is design everything? No, I don't disagree, but it's something we're doing and we care about it. So why not? I think it's better. I think it's better that position. I think is a better statement. And I don't want to speak for Peters, but I have a feeling his experience, and maybe Matteo can speak on this too. If you're going to do something, it might as well be worth my time, because what else is this for? So I find that that's a story and a message that I think he also carries himself in his social media that way too. Where he presents himself. He gets a lot of hate for it, but I think it's probably why he does what he does on social media as well. But I do think that the sincerity of heart that's behind what he's doing, I wish that was expressed a little bit more, in my opinion. I think beyond the heart side is the method. So like heart, method, and conclusion, right? The conclusion's there. I have no doubts about that in terms of getting value from that. But those other two aspects, I think, are missing gaps in my mind.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And in full disclosure, like graphic design gave me not only a life but a career. If it wasn't for graphic design, I really don't know what I would do in life. It's the only thing that I do well, and the only thing that really excites me about life is applying it to graphic design and branding and typography. And I also feel if I wrote this book, it would be really hard to write what he wrote. And so going through that, I feel was really courageous and putting it out there. But I'm sure that, again, this is why it was the part of the portfolio book. And maybe the next one is the design book and the how to, and because badging I love, and I had a boss that loved badging, and I had to get really good at it really quickly because he loved it so much. And that's what kept me on that job. So I can't wait for that book to come out. But yeah, again, I love this on a different level, but I can understand your viewpoints on it.
Matteo, any last thoughts?
Well, I love that you brought up, Thomas, that, you've got to have heart and then have method, too. So you can see like he shows us he has heart, and that moves me and inspires me and gets me excited. And yeah, I wish I could see more of the method to his madness and the process and the step-by-step. So that way, because that's what, again, the promise was in the early beginning of the book, even a few times throughout the mid. And I'm going to show you exactly how. And I'm like, yes, I'm excited. And then that's not there. So it just feels like there's something missing. There's definitely something missing for me that I didn't quite land on. With Michael, what you were mentioning too about like the badge making section, absolutely, and how he wrote this book. Allan, like, great job simplifying the concepts. I think this is a wonderful book on the sense of he's taking very complicated subjects and really simplifying them down into an easy and understandable, approachable way. That part's great, but it's not for me pushing anything further, and going deeper. We stay very surface level the whole ride throughout the book.
Well, I think we should just do last round review. I'll do Closing statements or assessments. I would say in general, Logos at Last preserves the modernist logic with a very high degree of polish and discipline. But it doesn't really, as Matheo said, doesn't explain or it doesn't expand or re-articulate it to contemporary conditions. But there is real conviction in the book. You know, you can sense that the designer really believes in courage, faith, and beauty. But that conviction really does seem partially concealed. You know, had this been brought fully to the surface, it could have articulated not just how to make better marks or symbols, but be that a better kind of designer as a general person. I think also I do agree. I think everyone's agreeing that also the badge section was like its own thing. And in fact, even Allan said it himself, because like that's what he wants to do is a whole book on it. It's almost like that should just be the book itself, in some ways. So the work demonstrates competence. It does demonstrate care and it demonstrates taste, but it doesn't demonstrate transformation. And that's my closing remarks. Matheo.
Thomas, you just like mic dropped it right there. This is a mic drop right there. Damn. Yeah, I got this section of the book open about, visual rhythm, and my big keynote is like, these are beautiful. Allan, these are beautiful. Your logos are absolutely gorgeous. The pattern making, the logo making, the visual rhythm that you create is so gorgeous. I really wish I could follow along with your process so I can start to, experiment with that more, because that's where I'm maybe struggling right now and want to get more insights. And the visual inspiration is there. It's there. It's great. So this is a wonderful portfolio book. I found you on Instagram, saw the book in Barnes and Noble, and then I was like, wait, this is Allan Peters, that's him. And I was super excited. And then unfortunately going through the book, I'm just like, oh, okay, missing some pieces here. So if you're going to make the next book, please, give us more method, give us more heart, just like you gave us at the, tail end of this book, and definitely go deeper on the badge making stuff. It sounds like we're all on board for that. So yeah.
Michael?
Yeah. I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. If you're a branding designer, if you're a graphic designer, I think that you'll really enjoy this book. But yeah, all of these different perspectives are definitely valid. And but again, like you said, it feels like a portfolio book, which I think that it definitely is. And maybe the next one will definitely satisfy that creative spark of how it all came together a little bit more in depth.
Very good. All right. So we are now transitioning to the wildcard segment. We have a bunch of prompts to be just a wildcard transition from our review section to the second act of the episode. So Michael, lead us away.
Do it.
Spin the wheel. Spin that wheel. Yeah. Oh.
How her little vibe. I came red. I did like a vibrant red. Here, like really fire red. Passion. Man's got he has convictional passion on what he works on. So that's the first thing came to my mind.
The color palette, I think he nailed it himself. This beautiful orange.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've really got to see this book in person to appreciate the color. And he uses like lovely orange and black throughout the book, and then white. And it's just, there's so many good moments of like this. I love this, like, beautiful modern sans serif, very clear, striking orange. So yeah, Allan, you made the color palette. It looks great. You did a wonderful job on that part. And yeah, it describes the overall vibe. It's fun and creative.
Yeah. Oh, is Thomas dramatic pause again?
No, I'm here. I was very still for a second.
I love the orange color palette. I also think that I see this a lot now. I see a lot of oranges, and especially like maybe black and yellow is another one that I see a lot. But I'm gonna go with how about charcoal and like a cream color. I think that would be an interesting variance of it. And I also like the there's kind of like, I don't know if it's intentional or not. Maybe it's just because of the inks. It looks like a bit of a spot UV.
Yes, I see it too.
And yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's intentional or not. But The other color, the black on the orange, looks really interesting. So I think if maybe that was reversed, that would be an interesting color scheme as well, because it seems to be a little bit more matte instead of that glossy.
Yeah, it's kind of it's almost a shade of the orange. Like it's a black with it's kind of has an undertone of the orange on it too. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Great production probably in the book. Yeah.
Great production.
Interesting question, by the way. This is
awesome. Very good. All right. So, by the way, this is a live show. So I don't know if I think I saw some comments and some waves in the audience. I think while we were talking. So
yeah, we got quite a few comments from Julian, Andrea, Mike the Mollusk jumped in there.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely eye-catching.
Thanks,
Julian. Do we know when that was? Like, preach when?
When I would, yes, I saw the timing on that. It was when I was summarizing, after your summary, Thomas, at the very end. That's when he was like,
yeah, preach. Cool. Yeah, so thank you for those who've been watching the show. Love your comments. Always please do so. We'll be sharing on the screen. By the way, if you read the book and want to disagree with us in anything we're arguing here or talking about, please, we would love to have this. The more we have as a community, we can talk about this work. The delay is real. Awesome. Well, it's live, but yes, the internet does have problems, unfortunately. But again, having live discourse about the text and thinking about design and what does it mean to be a designer and think about type and loving type is something I'm very excited about. So I think that covers our sections up till now. So we need to close on out. So first of all, join the Type Thursday Book Club. So come hang out with us on these live streams. You can do that. You can sign up to the Google form to get an invite to our private Slack, where we post up our works. We were talking about which work we like the best. Me and Matheo took photos of it. Worked out that Michael, me both like the same one. So come hang out, chill out with Type Thursday members, and introduce yourself. Love to have you join us. And don't forget, Type Thursday is a meeting place for people who love type, and they are physical events. So the events are next week in both Los Angeles and Phoenix. I think the early bird tickets are still open now, I believe. I think they expired today, I believe. I'll let Matheo and Michael speak more about their chapters.
Yeah, check out Type Thursday Los Angeles. We're going to be hosted at Typecraft in Pasadena, California. Thanks to David Mays and the team at Typecraft for hosting us. It's an amazing print space, and we'll get to have a guided tour at the end of the huge printers that they run in production. And you'll also get to meet a ton of amazing designers and network. We've got food, we've got drinks, and good vibes. Come check it out.
Love it. Yes, and we will not be here next week because of our Type Thursday commitments.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. When we're not at physical Type Thursday events, we're on the book. We're doing our book reviews. And when we're not doing our book reviews, you come to Type Thursday in person.
Boots on the ground.
Yeah. Yes, we'll be at Dialogue in downtown Phoenix, February 26th, Thursday, of course. Great place to meet people, but also find passionate designers of all types, and even people that are just getting into typography or just curious about it. We've been growing steadily, and it's been great. And we're very lucky to have Dialogue and the great owner, Chad, as a big fan of what we're doing. So definitely stop by if you're in the Phoenix area. We'd love to see you.
Outstanding. Well, that covers our second episode of the Type Thursday Book Club live rating review. It's been super fun. Matheo and Michael, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for watching us together.
Thanks for Allan for writing this beautiful book.
Yes. Yes.
Pick up your copy. If you do pick up a copy and you want to join us, you can. You don't have to. You can read it on your own pace. Jump into Slack. Go back to that Google Form Slack slide. Scan the QR code, and we'll get you in there. Yeah. Or message us on Instagram through our DMs. Happy to get you connected to our community.
Love it.
Well, that's it. So let's wrap it up. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. And remember, no book club next week, but we'll be back in 2 weeks for our next book. Oh, I forgot my bag, so I don't have it with me. One of my favorites. I'm happy. This is my recommendation. Oh, good. You two will both have it. Thank goodness. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I swear by this, and Type Thursday was built on that book. I have all my chapter leads read it who've been a part of Type Thursday. Everyone for the 10 years of Type Thursday has basically been told to read that book, and a lot of them have. And I'm very excited that we're going to be doing our book club on 7 Habits of Highly Effective People in 2 weeks. So again, hope to see you at Type Thursday, Phoenix and LA. You can head to it next week. By the way, if you talk on Type Thursday in your community, you reach out to us. Always looking to start new chapters or relaunch the old chapters who went on hiatus. So again, Michael and Matheo, thank you for your time. And thank you, Allan, by the way, for writing our book we read this week. Thank you for that. Everybody, thank you. Have a great night.
Good night, everyone.
See you later.